As I said, a medical doctor by profession. He too is a Dikechendu or Hafia one. It rhymes with his profession. Somebody, the custodians of our health and our life. As they said, doctors, our lives are in your hands. You are in the right place. You're welcome, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Take a look at the first step of the discussion from the point of view of historical perspective. As a political scientist and with lots of studies in Nigeria's history, governmental development to so many aspects of Nigeria, they said politics is a platform for reconciliation of interest. And democracy, as Abraham Lincoln said, is for the people, by the people, and of the people, something like that. Yeah, but reconciling interest. How do you see Nigeria in perspective? Let's begin from the root. When the nation gained its sovereign status in 1960, the founding fathers of this great nation, their projection for the future of this great nation, how will you examine that against the backdrop of the country in perspective today at 61?
At 61?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think in a sense, this country is lucky.
Lucky?
Lucky, yes. Why do I say it's lucky? It's the fact that, you know, if we go back in history, you know, about 100 years before the Europeans came.
Yeah.
Good. Of course, there was still a level of interaction among the different groups.
Yes.
In what now constitutes Nigeria, but it was not formalized. I mean, either people were conducting wars against one another, or even or you have different communities interacting on the basis of trade,
Yes.
marriage, and diplomacy. This historically has been established.
Yes.
In fact, when people now talk about as if we're total strangers to one another, it baffles me, because probably such people might not have read history or will not even appreciate certain dynamics that took place before the coming of the white man. But be that as it may, at the point that Nigeria was conceived of, if you look at, there were several stages.
Yes.
The acquisition of the colony of Lagos, 1861, to the eventual, occupation of the Niger Delta or the, Niger Coast,
Yes.
protectorate, and before, it was extended to the northern, protectorate. You discover that, the momentum, was such that nobody, as I said, 100 years earlier, nobody would have, thought, that kind of development will take place.
Yes.
But it did take place. And here we are today. Even if you take it from the point of view of the year of amalgamation, 1914.
14 years.
Yes, we are talking of not less than 100 years we have been together. So when I hear people talking about, Nigeria is already divided, and I begin to wonder, what is this division? What is the color of this division we are talking about? Is it the natural, forms? When I say natural, ethnic division, differences is natural. We cannot rule that out.
Yes.
Is it about religion, religious differences, and so on and so on? But in terms of politics of, oneness,
Yes.
from 1914 to date, we are now talking of about, 107 years. And somebody was still talking about, and in fact, what has even happened within this period is that Nigerians have intermarried, in the present context, and it is still going on. We now have institution of governance
Yes.
that melts us together, and then you have other other structures or other facilities that bring us together. I just imagine now if you are going to travel to Lagos from Abuja, especially in the context of the contemporary security challenges we have,
yes.
you go and take a flight from Abuja. You may likely board aircraft. That aircraft is owned by a Nigerian who is not. It can't just be said that he is. He belongs to everywhere.
Everywhere, yes.
No, he doesn't. He will still have his own ethnic identity. But by the time he packed the passengers into his plane, we're talking of one Nigeria. Nobody, because if we are flying, we are all flying together to Lagos. So I now say that there are so many things that bind us together on every single moment, every second. Certain things bind us together.
Yes.
So we do not have to mystify or debunk, such dynamics that
yes.
we cannot avoid. So that's the way I see Nigeria. Yes, somebody will say there are challenges. Nobody will deny that. But there are also, we have our comfort zones. I've just talked about, the issue of marriage. As I'm talking to you now, my wife is Yoruba. I'm not Yoruba. And we have given birth to children. Our children speak Hausa more than any of our languages.
Yes.
So, at the end of the day, how do they define themselves? Will they say they are not? They will say they are Nigerians.
They are Nigerians.
They are
yes,
Nigerians.
Of course.
So there are these dynamics that are taking place every second.
I think I'm very, very interested in that dynamic.
Yes. That
you're talking about. Let me go to Dr. Maduekwe.
That's right.
Nigeria, in perspective, you see, the diversity that makes us unique is a strength that makes us unite in an amalgam of one nation, one destiny. Do you agree to that against the backdrop of what Prof is saying?
I certainly very much agree that the diversity is our strength. The challenge is how do we manage this diversity so that our strength can be brought to the forefront. In which case, we are talking about Nigeria at 60. We may therefore want to rewind and say from 1960, when we had independence, to 2021, when we are celebrating the first year of our independence, how have we managed our diversity? Are we where we expect to be, where we should be, where we expect that our diversity should have led us to be? We all witness to what happens with the American and the Canadian immigration system, where they say the more they dilute their purity in terms of wide diversity, the more they reinvent themselves, the more they interrogate themselves, and the more they bring about a new narrative as to who they are, so that they're always on the cutting edge of being the leaders of the world. To what extent are we applying such a paradigm to our own diversity? If you look at where we were in Nigeria, maybe in 1960 when we became independent, you will, of course, agree with me that we were more united in the 60s than we are presently. Then the honest thing will be to interrogate ourselves as to what will have, led to this over the years, and what can we be able to do in order to retrace our steps backward and not to be at the precipice where probably instead of our diversity being a blessing, it becomes a curse. Just like when the black gold was supposed to be a blessing, it became the curse, the black curse, as the case may be. We are not supposed to allow such scenarios to continuously repeat itself. we are not continuously now come around and say, oh, the leaders are to be blamed. We are the followers. So a system may not likely produce a different leadership that is not part of what the society is capable of producing. So in that case, you find out that to the extent that we are losing thought of who we are as friends, look at the beautiful story the prof just told us now. Wife is a Yoruba. The children are speaking more Hausa than either Yoruba or his own private descent. So you find out that the children are the typical example of what Nigeria is supposed to be, where you see yourself, first of all, as a Nigerian, and you walk tall to say, I am a Nigerian. The children are not likely going to feel they are Yoruba, they are from Abuja, or as the case may be. They want to see themselves as Nigerians, and they walk tall with that Nigerian flag. Now, how are we replicating this all over so that it won't just be a flash in the pan, it won't just be a fluke, happening in one family or in one location, but it could have been a national agenda, a national identity. I think that's the same kind of thing that is happening in Rwanda, where people in Rwanda see themselves first and foremost as Rwandese. They don't see themselves either as Hutu now or as Tutsi, as the case may be. Do we have to go the Rwanda way, massacre ourselves? Haven't we killed ourselves enough that we should learn lesson and know that we don't need to go the whole hog? We are 200 million people, so there's no way we can compare ourselves with what happened in Rwanda as a prescription as to the way to go before we identify ourselves as Nigerians. So I want to say that we have not done well because we are better off in 1960 than we are today. And as followers, again, we have not followed well. We have not learned the basic intricacies that are there for us to be our brother's keeper. If we're able to be our brother's keeper, definitely we'll enjoy the diversity because we realize that when we are doing business, I can have a business partner from Medugri, and I will have good business with him. I will, if it's to share the money, particularly, money obtained in other surreptitious manner, I will share with my Borno state friend, and there will be no question of whether he's a Muslim and I'm a Christian, or whether I'm from the east or he's from the north, because we have a common agenda to share the money in any party platform. So we are at peace. So why can't we understand that as Nigerians, we should be able to look at ourselves as Nigerians, and so our diversity will be used to build us as a one united country.
Yes, what I could get from what you've said, you said the leadership of a nation is a reflection of that society.
Thank you.
Prof, that is it. And actually, how do Nigerians behave? How do we really like ourselves? How are we patriotic in nature, individually and in group? Or we have intense regionalism still visiting us, tribalism, nepotism, and what have you. Is it reflections of, is the leadership reflection of that, or those people in authority? I remember when Mr. President was sworn in, he says, I belong to nobody and I belong to everybody. And from his conduct, you could see, you can decipher. But institutions make up a nation, make up leadership, not just the individual. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's we need to go back to history to learn, how other, diverse entities have been able to accommodate themselves, and have placed premium on, the national identity or national consciousness.
Yes.
Do you know that in the whole world you can't get up to 20 countries that are single nations? You can't. So which means that over the globe we have over 200 different nations, as members of the UN, for instance. So it means that the bulk of nation states are multi-ethnic, multicultural.
Yes.
And in some places there is accommodation of one another. to the extent that you do not have, people who will be talking of either, a breakout of the country or the need to, disaggregate ourselves.
Yes.
So I think we need to learn lessons from such, different countries that have been able to study. I have traveled extensively in Africa. I went to South Africa one day, and I was discussing with a South African, and I said, "What is your ethnic background?" And he said, "No, we don't talk about ethnic background here in South Africa. We talk about the South African nation."
Yes.
And yet they have Zulu, they have Xhosa,
Bantu.
and Bantu, and so on and so forth. I also went to Ghana. One day I was also discussing, because, I anytime I travel, I go with the heavy burden of how do we get inclusiveness in my country. So when I go to a country that is as diverse as, not as diverse, but it's also diverse, like Nigeria, I ask this question. And the Ghanaians will not tell you that they are Ewe or Asante. No, they will rather say, I'm a Ghanaian. So we have this problem of how to actually, go beyond our immediate ethnic, cocoons in order to embrace the national identity.
Yes.
I was watching, there used to be a program, this Point Blank, that Tony Iradia
Yes.
used to host. And one day, he invited, late Senator Abraham Adesanya as a guest. And the first statement that came from, his guest was that, "I consider myself an Ijebu man first, before I call myself a Yoruba man. And thirdly, before I regard myself as a Nigerian."
As a Nigerian.
I really found that. In fact, that day I was just itching. How I wish this was an interactive program.
Yes.
I would have asked, thrown a question to him. Did he have Ijebu passport or Ijebu currency?
Is a Nigerian
It's
passport.
a Nigerian passport will have
Yes.
Nigerian currency. So I think that there are institutions or there are mechanisms that are available to all of us to now say we are Nigerian. And let's even list some of these things. There used to be what is called the federal government colleges.
Yes, please.
Which are institutions that creatively the first prime minister set up. Balewa said, let's try and integrate Nigerians. And that institution, when it functioned very well, was able to produce people who are thinking beyond their ethnic backgrounds. Federal government colleges now, nobody even thinks about.
We are coming to the educational elite.
Yeah, I'm just even listening,
Yes.
Institutions or structures.
Those ones that are meant for what we have today is only the NYC.
It's even being challenged now.
Yes, you could trying to see how unthinkable that could be.
Yeah.
To challenge why should NYC continue to exist.
Exactly.
That it doesn't contribute anything. It's not meant the contribution of NYC, perhaps. We were not discussing NYC. It was a good example when we are talking about the nation. The contribution of NYC is beyond material gains.
Yeah.
Is national integration and what have you.
Yeah.
I think we will continue with the discussion, but we'll chip in something for just 1 minute. Then if you will oblige us to have, because Nigeria is a very big country, if you oblige us to come back for the subsequent edition, but chip it something from what the Prof said. Just 1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
I know as a journalist you can't be controlled.
The challenge still remains how we can have that understanding that we are Nigerians. And I think where the narrative now is that many people have this element of trust. So if trust has been instilled into various ethnic or regional or religious divide in the country, then this is the hour and time to come with mechanisms that will build trust, that will help to get people together, so that when they're together, they can now start understanding that there are Nigerians first and foremost. So trust, building trust is very important. Whatever mechanism that has to be in place so that that trust can now be built and need to be pursued as if it were yesterday.
Yes, the issue of trust is very fundamental. Thank you very much, Dr. Chidi Amaduakwe, for honoring our invitation. And Professor Nuhu Yakub, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, I know once a teacher, always one. Thank you for your tremendous contribution too.
Thank you.
We hope we'll continue with this discussion. We've just scratched it. You know, we're going into the nitty-gritty. We have, you have the time to oblige NTA again to continue with this discussion because 1st October, continue up to the end of October. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I'm Aliyu Baba Baro. There has been moment for thoughts talking about Nigeria at 6-1. What a period of maturity to examine this country. We hope you followed up to this particular time, and when they say you show the light and people will find the way, we hope to do that. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Fellow compatriots, if no single tribe or religion has defeated poverty, then no single tribe or religion can develop Nigeria. The success story of every state and capital is the contribution of every tribe and religion. Our Nigeria no be wazobia, no majorities or minorities. Every tribe and every religion still dey hustle for naira when no get tribe or religion. So, my country people, let's join this movement that says naira no get tribe and use the naira to develop our naira land. Citizens first. Citizens before state of origin. Citizens before your religion. Citizens before your ethnic belonging. For participation, call 0902 739 5555.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative and interactive on national issues accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
vaccine is safe and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
NTA Parliament is a dedicated 24-hour channel that broadcasts the activities of the Nigerian Senate, Federal House of Representatives, and all the 36 state houses of assembly. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
President Buhari calls for peace in Ethiopia as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed begins second five-year term.
We encourage all parties to come together in the interest of the unity, progress, and well-being of Ethiopia.
Association of Resident Doctors to resume work Wednesday as members suspend 2-month-old industrial action.
South Governors Forum approves regional security outfit.
Council called upon the President and the federal government to uphold the law establishing the Niger Delta Development Commission by appropriately constituting its board.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the renewed onslaught against banditry and kidnapping, plus restoring peace in the southeast.
The recurring challenges of banditry and kidnapping in the northwest geopolitical zone of Nigeria has made the security agencies and political leaders in the affected states to come up with various strategies to deal with the ugly situation. Kingsley?
Now, part of the strategies deployed by the states includes the containment orders that prohibited the sale of petroleum products in jerry cans, closure of major markets, shutdown of telecommunication services, among others.
And although there was hue and cry by residents of the affected areas over the government actions, but reports indicate that the strategies have made tremendous impact on the war against banditry and kidnapping.
Now, reports indicate that some kidnapped kingpins and hundreds of collaborators, suppliers of ammunition, food, petrol, and other services to the bandits have been apprehended during the blockade.
And to ascertain the level of success of the containment measures, the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Laya Mohammed, undertook a working visit to some of the affected states in the northwest zone of the country to have first-hand information on the great efforts of the governors and security operatives.
The minister had a town hall meeting in Katsina where he said that there was no doubt that the table was turning against the bandits since the introduction of those measures that got the bandits boxed and paving way for the military to step up their kinetic measures.
So how effective are these containment measures? What needs to be done to sustain the onslaught against the bandits? What cooperation is needed to record more successes in the ongoing operations? Well, these are some of the issues we intend to raise with the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture on this subject matter this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. I am Jumwe Yusuf. Thanks so much for joining us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I joined my colleague Jumai to also welcome you to the program live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, the program today is a double-decker. We shall also discuss how to effectively restore peace in the increasingly troubled southeastern part of the country. And
of course, we have our complementary segments in the course of the program. We have newspaper review, business and so on. But first of all, let's join our colleague Tessie Omere with the morning news. Good morning, Tessie.
Good morning, Kingsley and Jumai. Good morning, Nigeria, and here is the morning news. Nigeria has made a strong case for all the parties in dispute over the last parliamentary elections in Ethiopia to bury their differences, come together and chart a new course for unity, progress and general well-being of the country and her citizens. President Muhammadu Buhari made this submission in a goodwill message to government and people of Ethiopia at the inauguration of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for a second term in office.
We are all aware of the many challenges facing the people of Ethiopia, and we encourage all parties to come together in the interest of the unity, progress, and well-being of Ethiopia. Your Excellency, you therefore have a great opportunity to continue to work for the peace and stability of Ethiopia.
Talking health, Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has been speaking on what informed the decision to suspend the 2-month-long industrial action. National President of the association, Dr. Dare Ishaya, says government has met some of their demands and they are also resuming on compassionate grounds.
NEC resolved by vote of a simple majority to suspend the total and indefinite strike action embarked upon on 2nd August 2021. Therefore, our members will resume full work on Wednesday, 6 October 2021 by 8 a.m.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has reported 141 new cases of COVID-19 in the country within the last 24 hours, bringing the country's total caseload to 206,279. Among the new infections, Rivers State has 33 new cases, Gombe recorded 32, Lagos 29, Imo 25, Plateau recorded 9 new cases, and Benue has 5. Others are Borno with 4 new cases, Kano 3, and Delta State has 1 new case. So far, 194,167 treated cases have been discharged, while the death toll is still 2,723. The South-South Governors Forum has approved a regional security outfit to assist in tackling insecurity in the region. This was contained in the resolutions of the governors after 4 hours deliberations on national issues held in Port Harcourt, Rivers State.
Council called upon the President and the federal government to uphold the law establishing the Niger Delta Development Commission by appropriately constituting its board. In addition, it expressed the hope that the federal government would make the forensic audit report public and deal justly and fairly with the report with a view to strengthening the capacity of NDDC to meet its obligations to the people.
Nigeria has made significant progress on economic diversification in recent years through the federal government's support of critical sectors such as agriculture and ICT. This is the consensus of members of the business community in Abuja during their engagement with the African Peer Review Mission towards the validation of Nigeria's country's self-assessment.
Very few presidents take this bold step to allow the other countries to come and review their policies.
The new 2020 KAMA law makes stringent provisions for transparency in the leadership, board, and finances of corporate organizations, including not-for-profit organizations.
Nigeria must continue to improve her business environment to maximize the opportunities in the African Continental Free Trade Area. This position was put forward by promoters of Made in Nigeria goods at the opening of the 16th Abuja International Trade Fair.
Private sector must be ready to capitalize on the readiness of government to deploy all state apparatus in support of Nigeria's participation in the Africa trade.
The agreement has entered into effect or into force on 1st of January this year, 2021. But we are still putting in place certain measures and to make sure that we implement.
The National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, says it will not hesitate to revoke the license of any media organization that operates contrary to the provisions of the nation's broadcasting code. Director General of the Commission, Balarabe Ilela, said this at the presentation of license to new operators in the sector.
That the license is granted to you to enable you contribute your meaningful quota to the development of Nigeria, create jobs, and build bridges across the nation.
It's a huge responsibility that has been placed on our shoulders, and we want to promise that we shall not disappoint.
And that's the news for now. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Jomai after this break.
We've been trying our best to contain the situation, and in our operations we've been able to make a lot of recoveries. We've been able to also arrest suspects that are involved in this kind of activities, and we've been able to also recover particularly arms and ammunition from those who are carrying it unlawfully and disturbing the peace of the people. But generally, our morale in the Nigerian police is always guided by our commitment to do what we have sworn to do. Peace and security must be looked into as a priority by all. To look at security as the business of all of us.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You won't go shake your body. Instead, they make it calm down. He the farm say he's happy. You want to grow 6 packs in a day. I beg you not to pass your power. You want to show yourself, oh.
Whatever your size, find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol, Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
Helen Paul! Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam. The regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow!
Garnacho near post and scores.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to continue their excellent start to the World Cup qualifiers when they take on Leifove of Central African Republic. Will Leifove pull off a shock on the home soil of the Super Eagles? It's Nigeria versus Central African Republic at the Tesla Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Nigeria on the 7th of October, showing on the network service of the NTA and AIT from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcasts on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join online at sporting.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by BetNiger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles.
Welcome back. Industry players commend federal government strategies at bridging infrastructure gap across the country to grow the economy. Comfort Amadou reports on these and more on Business News.
If you're looking at agriculture, for you to have the right input and for you to even evacuate whatever you have produced from the farm gate to the market or to the factories, or to increase productivity, you must invest in infrastructure.
The federal government, in its efforts to develop the country and boost the nation's economy, has paid special attention to infrastructure development by embarking on new projects and completing abandoned ones. This has been applauded by industry actors, describing the steps and methods used by the government to finance infrastructure development as consistent with modern trends.
If you don't invest heavily on railways, your raw material supply strategy cannot work. We are trying to depart from oil. So those monies that we are getting or borrowing to invest in railways is actually one of the best things that we can do to ourselves now, because with that you will now jumpstart that subsector of the economy which is making the soil mineral sectors work.
The Nigerian capital market opened the week on a cheering note as investors gained 14.45 billion naira as all share index firmed up by 0.05%, with Champion leading the list of active stocks that recorded impressive volume spike. At the end of trading session on Monday, 4th of October, equities market closed at 40,243.05 basis points as against plus 1.59%. Mansard led 22 gainers as against 14 losers, topped by Morrison when trading closed for the day. With Business News, Comfort Amadou.
Many thanks, Comfort, for the business package. Next for us is News Super Review.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Toby is in the studio. Good morning, Bayo.
Thank you, Jume. Good morning.
See
Good
you.
morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you.
Let's begin with the Nation newspaper this morning. Right. And above the masthead, we have Al-Makura to run for APC chairman. You find details on page 3. Buhari calls for peaceful Ethiopia as Prime Minister takes office. You find details on page 31. South-South states join Rivers in VAT battle. Details on page 28. Why we ended 2-month strike by residents doctors, page 3. Below the masthead, we have networking businesses disrupted for hours by Facebook WhatsApp outage. Billions of dollars lost worldwide. Networking businesses disrupted for hours by Facebook WhatsApp outage. Billions of dollars lost worldwide. Special status. Lagos seeks 1% consolidated revenue fund allocation. You find all the details on page 28. Nigeria not on list of 50 countries with genuine COVID-19 vaccine certificates. Nigeria not on list of 50 countries with genuine COVID-19 vaccine certificate. You find all the details on page 6. Zoning ripples widen in PDP over party chair. Zoning ripples widen in PDP over party chair, with riders North-South scheme ahead of neck. We are strong enough to withstand any storm. And at the bottom plate of the Nation newspaper, 2 suspected kidnappers arrested at ransom collection point. You find the details on page 2. Kingsley?
Okay, well, let's take a look also at the Punch newspaper from top to bottom above the name plate. Nigerian Airlines and others to lose 1.4 trillion naira, and poor COVID-19 vaccination slows recovery. Nigeria serviced debt with 1.47 trillion naira in the first half of 2021, and that's according to the Debt Management Office. Billions of dollars lost as Facebook shuts out 2.9 billion subscribers. Nigerians used 1.74 billion liters of petrol in August. That's according to the PPPRA. Now, 2 earpieces there beside the nameplate. Wadume. Army shields killer soldiers, refuses to court-martial kidnap collaborators. CSOs berate federal government and VIPs as Pandora Papers implicate Peter Obi and 9 others. Tension rises in Southeast. Military begins operation against killings and others. There are 3 riders to that headline. Military and police show of force creates confusion in Igbo. Offices, markets, and others shot. Army launches exercise Golden Dawn in Anambra against IPOB cultists and others. Southeast governors and other leaders meet in Enugu today to revive Ibubeagu. And below the photographs on the front page there, Northern Group kicks against zoning 2023 presidency. Probe begins as murder convict hangs self in Abuja prison. Benue ex-commissioner begins governorship race, banks on agriculture and education. Strike suspended for salary payment on IPPIS, and no work, no pay unresolved. That's according to the Association of Resident Doctors. Abuja estate panics as robber raid Dunamis Church, stab guard, steal drinks. Over 500 Niger local government communities under Boko Haram. Well, that's according to a resident in Niger State. Mayo.
Thank you, Kingsley. There were reported stampede yesterday following gunmen who were said to be shooting sporadically into the air within Owerri metropolis. The gunmen were suspected to be members of the proscribed IPOB who were forcing traders to close their shops. People were scared, motorists made U-turn, passengers were disembarking, and Daily Trust reports that parents had to rush to schools to pick up their children. The correspondent of the Daily Trust gathered that the gunmen had arrived Owerri from Aba, ostensibly to ensure they enforce the IPOB sit-at-home order in the Imo State capital. In Anambra, with barely 32 days to the November 6th governorship election, political activities have virtually ceased. Banners, billboards bearing campaign messages have reportedly been pulled down. Meanwhile, Arewa Youth Consultative Forum has called on northern governors not to allow the proscribed IPOB infiltrate into the northern states. The AYCF president, Yerima Shetima, says it rejects the call on the Middle Belt to join the so-called sit-at-home order by IPOB. They expect that the northern governors should ensure that any traders who shut their shop in solidarity with the proscribed IPOB should have their shop sealed. Also, a coalition of northern groups threatened to revoke the business of persons living in the north who comply with the sit-at-home order issued in respect of call to release the IPOB leader. Spokesman Abdulaziz Suleiman described the development in the southeast as unfortunate, but will not tolerate the people complying with IPOB order in the north. He says at least their business in the north are beyond the threat by IPOB. Meanwhile, the Nigerian army has announced that it is to commence 3 exercises at fighting and keeping criminality at bay within the country. The exercises are Golden Dawn, Enduring Peace, and Still Waters. The Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Yeman Wachuku, says that the Chief of Army Staff is expected to flag off the exercise in Enugu. The aim is to check all forms of criminality and allow free movement, especially towards Uletide. Meanwhile, the report that Kingsley read earlier on indicated that Attorney General of the Federation has taken over the case of Hamisu Bala, otherwise known as Wadumi, for the alleged Taraba kidnap kingpin since June. He is facing 16 charges bordering on terrorism, murder, kidnapping, and illegal arms running, and will file against Wadumi and accomplices. Among the accomplices are some soldiers. The Attorney General of the Federation withdrew charges against the soldiers in June. This is to allow the armed forces complete the court-martial processes of the officers before they will be prosecuted. The army has not court-martialed them, the personnel alleged to be involved, and that is causing a delay for the prosecution. Meanwhile, Wadumi was last in court in June, and the case has been stalled because when he was last in court in April, the judicial workers went on strike, and when they resumed, the judiciary itself had been on vacation. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors have announced the suspension. Noted, they say they have suspended their strike. This strike, which was declared early August, lasted for 65 days. The NRD president, Dari Ishaya, says that the strike was observed by all the 79 chapters of the association, and this strike will be suspended only for a period of 6 weeks. The National Executive Council is to reconvene in 6 weeks to review progress. When you suspend strike, it means you have not called off the strike. Yes. You have kept it on the cliffhanger. Anytime you choose that conditions are not met, you don't need to give any notice, and then the strike go on. On the meeting of the 5 South governors that converged at Port Harcourt, they had a communique that was read by the chairman and governor of Delta State, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa. They approved the Brace State Regional Security that is to be launched soon. They also support unequivocally that state should collect VAT, and accordingly, they are to join Rivers State and Lagos at the case at the Supreme Court. They also call on the president to urgently and the National Assembly to take steps to review some unfair aspects of the Petroleum Industry Act and ensure fairness and equity. They want an amendment to define the list host communities and also trustees to be appointed by state government. The president, they said, should constitute the board of the NNDC to uphold the law. They also expect that federal government should make the forensic audit of the NNDC public. Social media suffered a glitch yesterday. The thing took effect from about 15:45, that about 3:45, and lasted about 7 hours.
I thought it was my phone, actually.
Yes. Major cities around the world, including Washington and Paris, were also affected. Meanwhile, a day before that glitch, a data scientist had claimed that on a TV network in the United States that some of these platforms were fueling hate and harming children's mental health. In fact, the 37-year-old lady, is expected to provide evidence at Capitol Hill today. It says that there is relentless pressure on the platform to guard against being used for misinformation, hate, and also spreading child-harming content.
Well, I think, for users of social media platforms, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook, it was very disruptive yesterday. when you found that if you tried to send messages, you couldn't send messages. You also couldn't receive messages after a certain time. It actually started a bit earlier in some cases. What I found somewhat relieving, I know that for our personal and business transactions, we all now rely largely on this platform. Billions around the world use them. But somehow I felt some relief for some hours. Because there are some of these messages that you get that you are obliged to open in the first instance and then just to see what is there. You have a trove of sometimes, I mean, with the greatest pardon, it's just useless mess, trash. Yes. Particularly some of the WhatsApp chat groups. Recycled. You read one on one platform, you go to another platform, the thing is tucked in there. For several hours, there was just some relief. And up to this morning, I'm sure that the posters have not woken up to realize that those platforms are back on. Otherwise, I mean, it's because when you are plodding through a trove of trash, it's time wasting, because it's, of course, a murky environment, and you also fish out diamond, isn't it?
Yes. At times, good information gets lost in the midst of all that.
That glitch revealed to many people that they were gradually getting addicted to the social media. Yes.
Precisely, Bayo. There's no point. I mean, because you look at your phone and then you're trying to say, oh, no, okay, I'll take a look at this later. And then you see, okay, this could be from an important source. Let me go there. Let me just read the others, because the messages are piling. At the time you spend reading those things, it's time you
time consuming,
for other things. But it just shows our dependence on these handles. Yes. And they are very useful, no question about that.
Yes.
Very useful. I mean, that's very handy. All kinds of things that you would have said, communication has been enhanced, no question about that. But of course, there are still issues now with antitrust, because Facebook is a powerful global corporation. No question about that. And I do hope that in trying to break down its power, they do not then, dilute the efficacy of the communication services that Facebook and its affiliates, whether it's WhatsApp or Instagram, what they provide.
All the platforms, one of the ways they could eliminate some of the challenges they are having is to ensure that the first originator of a message, his contact should be maintained. That way, he will cease to be anonymous.
Exactly.
And it can be traced. They go a long way to eliminate some of these incredible things. Ogun State Police Command did very well. A 7-year-old boy was kidnapped, and they demanded a ransom of 1 million. So the two gentlemen who went to go and collect the ransom were picked up by the police. And they followed them to the jungle, and they found that they have tied the poor 7-year-old boy to a tree. And they rescued the boy. The third accomplice had taken to his heels. The Commissioner of Police has directed the investigation. Also in Niger State, there are reports that in Shiroro local government area, some elements described as Boko Haram have taken over there and are insisting and enforcing that 12-year-old girls should be sent for marriage. And they have told the people, and the local government chairman for Shiroro local government, Suleiman Chukuba, has confirmed that it has affected 4 wards in his area. They said they should not go to police, not go to any other authority. They should come to them. All girls 12-year-old should go for marriage.
Well, Bayo, on that note, we thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me
today. Thanks so much. We'll take a break right now. When we return, our conversation will begin. Don't go away.
The federal government, through NPHCDA, commenced Phase 2 vaccination of all persons 18 years and above with safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines approved by WHO and certified by NAFDAC. Special arrangement has been made for staff, their dependents and retirees of ministries, departments and agencies of government, private corporate organizations and non-governmental organizations. To benefit from this special arrangement, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng/corporate vaccination NPHCDA.gov.ng/. To obtain, fill and submit the Google form. NPHCDA will contact you within 48 hours. Protect yourself, your family and your workplace against COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccines are free, safe and effective. For further inquiries, call 0700-220-1122 or send a mail to covid19.vaccination@nphcda.gov.ng. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol, Dettol.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol. Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College JOS invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Archival Management System in the Broadcast Media, date 11th October to 29th October 2021, 3 weeks. Intermediate Presentation Techniques, date 11th October to 22nd October 2021, 2 weeks. Digital Satellite, Microwave, and RF Technologies, date 11th October to 15th October 2021, 1 week. Advanced Broadcast Accounting and Auditing, date 25th October to 5th November 2021, 2 weeks. Photojournalism and Photography, date 8th November to 26th November 2021, 3 weeks. Transmitter Operation and Maintenance, date 1st November to 5th November 2021, 1 week. The course fee for the 3-week course is 130,000 naira per participant, while the fee for the 2-week course and the 1-week engineering courses is 100,000 naira only per participant, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more information, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
Helen Paul!
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow!
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
You're welcome back. The Minister of Information and Culture has visited Katsina, Borno and Kebbi states to have first-hand information on the various initiatives being implemented to curb insecurity, especially banditry and kidnapping. Ekene Dulue put together this report as a backgrounder to begin our conversation on the latest containment measures to deal with insecurity.
For years now, issues of terrorism, banditry, and other violent crimes have been on the increase in the northern part of the country. These crimes have also seen a major threat to education, as over 1,000 school children have reportedly been abducted across the region since the abduction of 276 schoolgirls in Chibok in 2014. The rise of banditry and armed attacks has also severely disrupted means of livelihood and distribution of essential services. To contain these criminal acts, the affected state governments introduced new measures to deal with the situation. The new strategies include suspension of mobile telecommunication services in some local government areas worst hit by the insecurity to cut off informants from communicating with the bandits. Ban on the sale of petrol in jerrycans at filling stations, as well as increased onslaught on the bandits. How effective are these strategies? The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, recently visited Katsina State to get a first-hand briefing on the security situation and will be speaking to the issues in a moment.
Thank you very much, Ekene Undule, for that backgrounder, and joining us on the studios now to discuss matters arising. From that background, let's welcome the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Honorable Minister, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning. Ajia.
All right. Honorable Minister, of course, you were in the Northeast. The Northeast is an older ground, as it were now, for counter-insurgency operations by intelligence and security forces. Northwest has, of course, joined with banditry and kidnapping. But we have seen a number of measures unfolded by state governments, by the security agents themselves. And so we say, welcome back from the front line. What did you see?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kingsley. Thank you, Ajia. Yes, it's true. I was in Katsina just 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, and I was also in Maiduguri, Borno State, about 12 days ago also. And my trip to Katsina, in the company of about 20 journalists, drawn from both the public and the private media, gave us a good insight and a first-hand knowledge of what is actually going on in the Northwest, in general, and the Katsina State in particular. You remember that the governor of Katsina State is actually the chairman of the Northwestern Governors Forum. And what we heard, what we learned, was quite, insightful. To start with, it was supposed to be a consultation with the governor, but it actually turned out to be a mini town hall meeting, where we had the governor, we had emirs, we had district, heads, we had all the security chiefs in the state, we had stakeholders and CSOs, and to actually discuss the issue of banditry. And the governor of Katsina State, he didn't spare any, there was no pretense as far as was concerned that, you see, what is today called, what we call banditry today, is nothing but sheer criminality. It has no basis on any religion, any ideology, or any culture whatsoever. In his words, he said, look, we are the same. We speak the same language, we have the same culture, we have the same religion. So if anybody is talking about, banditry in terms of, religious or ethnic, basis, that is, or ideology, that is not true. It's simply sheer criminality. According to him, there are today over 150 camps, led by independent bandits in the forests of Katsina, Zamfara, part of Niger, and Kaduna State. And that banditry did not start yesterday. If I remember him saying very well, he said banditry actually started in about 1891. That the first recorded, banditry was in 1911, when they snatched 165,000 pounds then So he actually situated the issue of banditry in its proper perspective. And for him, banditry started with cattle rustling, accompanied by killings, from what it has now and what is now grown up, into. But I think the good news is that certain measures which the northwestern governors have adopted, especially Katsina, seems to be yielding fruits. In the first instance, they have restricted sale of petroleum products to only 5,000 naira per person. They have cut communication, disrupted communication services in some areas. They have suspended markets. They have banned sale of second-hand motorcycles. They've stopped what we call junction motor parks. And in his own words, the measures are working very well. And if I can quote him, he said, "We're winning the war." He said, for instance, by restricting the sale of petroleum products to just 5,000 naira per person, now there's no more fuel in the forests. And because there's no more fuel in the forest, the movement of the bandits have been restricted. Because of the disruption in telecom services, there are no telephones for informants to give information to the bandits. At the same time, it now becomes more difficult for them to ask for ransom. Another good thing that is happening in the Northwest now is that there's a synergy between all the governors in tackling banditry. And if I remember very well, is the Northwestern governors are now putting hands together to train 3,000 armed volunteers. It will now be, they will hire 3,000 armed volunteers that will now be trained by the police to help in the to complement the efforts of the security. But clearly what is happening is that the measures they've taken is having a lot of positive effects. Now you can see the bandits are now restricted to the forest. They are hungry now and they're looking for refuge.
Indeed, the town hall meeting you had has sort of raised some silent issues, just as the Senate passed a resolution urging the Mr. President to declare bandits as terrorists. So what is the position of the federal government on this? Because if a bandit can shoot an airplane from the sky, he has gone beyond banditry to terrorism. What's the take of the federal government on that?
You see, I think we've been dancing around nomenclature. A criminal is a criminal. Whether it's a bandit or a terrorist, it's a criminal. And the approach of the federal government, especially the military, in treating these criminals is not to make a distinction between bandits or terrorists. The same measures have been meted out to them. And that is why we find it ludicrous, this accusation that the federal government is softer on terrorists and bandits than on separatists and other criminals. It's a fallacy. It's fake news. It's misinformation all rolled into one. And this is the kind of divisive rhetoric that is being, being promoted by some naysayers. It does not even make sense for the military to treat bandits with kid gloves. Bandits kill soldiers. They kill policemen. As much as Boko Haram does. So really for us in federal government and for the military, we actually make no distinction between bandits and terrorists. They are all criminals. And I've not seen how in the fighting this war, whether through area bombings or through the cooperation between the land and the air, you can't make a distinction between bandits and terrorists. For this federal government does not make that distinction. And the tag bandits, we are not the ones that gave them the tag bandits. Like I explained, bandits have been existing for very long, but make no mistake about it, this government does not treat bandits with kid gloves.
I just want to, Honorable Minister, from your interaction in the Northwest, what did you glean so that there can be lessons learned? Were there strategic missteps in handling the bandits and kidnappers early on so that they didn't then become the monsters that they now are and the security agents are dealing with? And there are two issues I will raise here. I would like you to address them. Well, yeah, we hear the 150 camps where they were located. And of course, that number would have reduced by now because they are being flushed out by the security agents. Those camps were in the so-called ungoverned spaces. Why were those spaces left ungoverned? It's an issue we have taken on Good Morning Nigeria today. So what did you hear when you were in situ? Why were those spaces left ungoverned for the bandits to set up camps?
Kingsley, recall I said banditry started in 1891. Now the first recorded, heist by bandits was 1911. I also said that banditry started with cattle rustling, accompanied by some killings, and it grew to what it grew to today. Yeah. So you're talking about more than 100 years of banditry, Kingsley. A lot must have gone wrong. But the good news, to me, is that these present governors are learning from the mistakes of the past. And are taking what as first seemed unpopular measures, but these measures are working. Yes, at a point in time, they all thought they could negotiate with these people. But the moment they found out that, the more money you give them, the more ammunition they buy, and that it was criminality. You see, this is different between Boko Haram and banditry. One is driven by ideology, however crazy the ideology may be. The other is just pure criminality. And I remember the governor telling us that so he got a letter from somebody. He said their family, all they've been doing, is banditry, and was advising the government on what to do. So you see, banditry started more than a century ago. How we got to where we got to is not a matter for today. Of course, lack of governance could be contributory to it. But the truth of the matter is that the governors have now found out that you do not negotiate with bandits. Go out, don't spare them, be relentless, in your attack of them. But if we want to go back to what has happened will teach us lessons as to what to do. And that's why I'm glad that some of the measures that we are taking today, such as, the ban on sale of, second cycles is working. Because if you see bandits, one of their most effective weapons are motorcycles. The ban on cattle markets is working because when they rustle cattle, they want to sell it. The disruption of telecom services is working because they can no longer get information from the informers. And you see, people look at bandits and they think that it's just a mono business. No.
Network.
Look, even bakers all play a role in this. Who supplies them food? Now, so it's more complex than what we see. And that's why I want to, congratulate the governors for the newfound, solution. I would say, well, you won't wipe it. Probably you won't wipe it out overnight, but clearly you will decimate them.
But you know why I raised that issue, Honorable Minister? Because sometimes when you get to hear the way we articulate some national issues, untenable comparisons are made. It's, oh, no, negotiate with them. After all, when the Niger Delta militants were operating, you had to negotiate with them and so on and so forth. But with the clear distinction that you have given, and which ordinarily is the case, this is pure criminality without a cause. So, and then we went on and said, oh, negotiate with them, go and give them money. There were videos all over the place showing alleged government officials handing over money to, I don't know how we could have gone on that route in the first instance.
Ideology.
Precisely. Even if you had an ideology and it's injurious to the nation.
Exactly.
Precisely.
You see, Kingsley, when you are a governor, you are under a lot of pressure. Don't forget that these bandits are subjects of the governors themselves. And like during this meeting we had in Katsina, the Emir of Katsina, the Emir of Daura, they were all there. People, you see, it's not as if people are ghosts. They live within the community itself. So at a point in time, erroneously, probably you thought you could negotiate with them. Erroneously, because what a governor wants is peace. What a governor wants is good governance. So if an intermediary comes to a governor with a bandit and the bandit says he has repented, blah blah blah, probably you want to believe him. But today, I don't think any of those governors will deal with any bandit on terms of surrender or no surrender. No. If you want to surrender voluntarily. We're not going to negotiate with you. And I think the measures that have been taken today are actually they're actually working. And I think we should be positive about that, and we should give them all the support they need. The governors are working closely with the military and with the police to train more volunteers who will be armed, but will be trained by the police, and they'll complement the efforts of the police.
Just like the civilian JTF?
Something like that, along that line, yes, for advances.
Are the residents ready and willing to endure more the inconveniences arising from these containment measures?
Well, you are right, it's a lot of inconvenience, but I think overall, even the residents know that the long term is better for them to endure. For instance, if we continue this way, there will be famine. Bandits and Boko Haram terrorists are not allowing people to go to their farms. So I think that even the residents are ready to, bear this, inconvenience for a short term. I don't know which state recently is saying that they can restore, communications in certain local governments. So I'm sure he must have a basis for so doing. Probably he believes that they've overcome the threat in certain areas. But we will continue to look at ways to contain banditry, ways to contain terrorism, and ways to contain all types of security challenges that the country is facing today.
For somebody who has gone through this, containment in Maiduguri for like 6 months without network, no electricity, which they are still facing now, and I know how hard it was to live in an environment like that, because at the end of the day, we were getting letters from family and friends outside Borno. But after 6 months, Boko Haram never went away. It sort of increased. Do you think these measures being taken in these northwest states we'll be able to contain them, keeping in mind the borders. These states are bordered by for other countries, and these bandits can easily go to another country, use the satellite there, and communicate. How do you think it's going to work? The way we it's not just on paper, but will it work? How are the citizens accepting the fact that this is for your own good, and you need to accept it and work with us to ensure that banditry does not continue in the Northwest?
See, Adia, the first thing to appreciate is that there is a difference between Boko Haram and banditry. One is driven by ideology, however misguided. The other is sheer criminality. But I'm ready to agree with you that in some places, Boko Haram and banditry, they dovetail. Yes. And it's a form of handshake in some areas. Yes, because in some areas, it is the same terrorists that have been flushed out from the northeast that are joining hands with the bandits in, say, probably in the north central. Now, that is why the military does not make a distinction between bandits and military, and bandits, terrorists, in their ferocious attacks against them. Two, you will recall that when we were in Maiduguri about 12 days ago, we were there to discuss the effect of the attack on infrastructure, especially power and communication by terrorists. Now, Maiduguri has been without power for more than 8 months. Why? Because the terrorists suddenly found out that the best way to inflict maximum damage on the economy and social life, on the economic and social life of the people, is to make sure that they don't have power, they don't have communication. And that is why at that town hall meeting we had the ministers, the representative of the ministers of communication, minister of power, and we were everybody was quite impressed with the measures being taken, not just to restore power, but also to prevent such attacks in future. Now, you will continue to have this, problem with Boko Haram and bandits working together as long as the military continues to be relentless in their attacks and they are flushing them out. This is why you have this temporary, kind of alignment between bandits and Boko Haram. But the good thing is that it never lasts. In Zamfara State, I remember there was a time that some of the leaders of the banditry joined hands with the Boko Haram. But it didn't last because while one was looking for money and the one was a sheer criminal, the other was an ideologue. And you see, today with the recent acquisition of platforms by the military, especially the Air Force, the heat is on. I'm glad to say that today we've received 10 out of the 12 Super Tucano. I hope that we hope that in the next 2 weeks the other two will arrive and we'll have the 12 Super Tucano. And when they are now launched fully, it will be a game changer. Already we are feeling and we are seeing the effect. So please, banditry on the one hand is sheer criminality. Boko Haram is ideologically driven, however misguided they might be. And if you see any synergy today between Boko Haram and bandits, it's simply because the military is making it difficult for the terrorists to continue to operate. So they are now being driven out of the northeast, and that is why they are scattered. And when they now go to the first, they meet bandits there will be this unholy alliance, but it does not last because the military is relentless in the pursuit of these criminals.
Honourable Minister, the issue has also been reported of some collaborators in the supply chain for the bandits.
Yes.
So even in Katsina, I mean, some women were arrested with petrol.
Yes.
Disguised in travel bags.
Yes.
Some of them have also been arrested with petrol concealed in nylon bags and sacks. The issue was one that we addressed on Good Morning Nigeria during the newspaper review some weeks ago. But one hasn't heard what the state government has done with those persons who were apprehended, or by the civil defense. The civil defense, at one of the videos, picked them up. Because the point is, if there is no law enforcement for sabotage efforts against the containment measures, what deterrence might there be?
You see, Kingsley, remember I said banditry is sheer criminality. And criminality is an economy on its own, which involves so many people. The women who make it possible for them to even eat. Those who profit from the black market petrol they sell to them. Those who provide them with arms and ammunition. Those who provide them with information. So those who buy the rustle cattle. It's a whole underground network and economy. And that is why the governments of Northwest, in addition to whatever the military is doing, is saying that they are also going to have to recruit 3,000 volunteers just to assist and address this same issue you are talking about. Everybody knows who the bandits are, and this is what one of the takeaways at the Katsina meeting we had, that everybody must join hands with government and report people who are aiding and abetting the bandits. Oh, there's no doubt that bandits thrive because they have accomplices within society, and it's all about money. That's what it's about. Criminality is about money. So yes, we agree that there's the issue of enforceability of these measures, but the fact that the measures themselves make it impossible or difficult for them to purchase motorcycles. Motorcycle is one of their greatest assets. Makes it impossible for them to even exchange information. Make it difficult, not impossible for them to take. Or even when they succeed in kidnapping people, it's a bit more difficult for them now to even ask for ransom. And the fact that the cattle markets have been closed, so if you rustle cattle, what do you want to do with it? I think if we give these measures more time, they'll begin to even yield more positive results. But I agree with you absolutely that everybody must really be his brother's keepers, and we must always must all help government. When we hear something, when you see something, say something.
Let's talk about
go ahead.
About these collaborators have been arrested. How fast is the prosecution going? Do we need a special court to try these people who aid and abet terrorists and bandits across the country?
Well, there might be need.
Just like we had the tribunals
Yes,
for armed robbery.
you see, there might be need, but you see, I think these things will be decided by the states themselves. They will know the number of people they have arrested. They will know the capacity of the judiciary. So I think we'd rather leave this to the states. But the states, I believe that they feel the heat hardest. And that is why all this accusation of treating bandits with soft hands. It just doesn't make sense.
Should it be left to the states alone because it affects the GDP of the country at large?
Well, I think I'd rather seek advice from the Attorney General of the Federation. But largely, most of these offences are probably offences that are prosecuted at the state level. But I think I would rather consult with the Attorney General about this. But the states are alive, I believe, to their responsibilities because they've seen how this banditry has crippled the economy, how it's made it impossible, even at times, for schools to open. How some states have been forced to close schools along the border and the frontier. So the governors are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that banditry is actually, and they're working very closely with the military.
You know, we are discussing, as it were, strictly the Northwest, but there are some curious twists. One aspect of it is pleasant, the other isn't quite pleasant. Kano and Jigawa would appear to be insulated from these incidents. What is it that they are doing right? Kano, of course, is a heavily populated state in the Federation. Jigawa, ordinarily next door to Yobe, and yet insulated from, apparently, from the terrorists. Kano, insulated from the bandits. What is it they are doing right? Or what is it that they may be doing right? Then you come a bit to the North Central. What is happening now in Niger should be worrisome to everybody because it appears to be a cross between bandits on the one hand who have chased off farmers from their farmlands as confirmed by the governor, and Boko Haram elements who are now reported to have taken over some communities in Shiroro. Honourable Minister.
Kingsley, I won't claim to have these answers to your question, but what I believe is happening is when you look at Niger, there's this contiguity between Niger State, especially the forests in Niger State, that links them with Katsina. I think links them also with Kebbi, and I think links them with, I think even Kaduna. Now, and these bandits will be found in these forests. So if there are no forests in your state, the likelihood of banditry will probably be much more reduced. But I really don't, that's one explanation. The other is that, like I told you, I think there's a cultural element to banditry. Some bandits, I've told you, have been operating, like Dan Sadao, local government. I'm told that bandits have been operating there since very early 20th century. Whatever the Kano State and GI State government are doing to ward off, terrorism and ward off banditry, they should continue to do. But I think probably the situations, both culturally and in terms of climatic, might not just be the same. But nobody should, nobody can rest on his horse because these bandits and these terrorists, they don't have any boundaries at all. But we want to commend those governors for whatever they are doing, that they are doing right, that they are able to ward off banditry and terrorism. They should continue to do them.
Okay, as you went on these town hall meetings across the states that you've gone, what is your takeaway from these meetings? What is the body language of the people you've spoken to? And how do you think, going forward, we can be able to control banditry and Boko Haram in Nigeria so that the country can move forward? We're looking at an electionary year coming up just around the corner.
You see, like I said in my remarks in Borno State, in Maiduguri, I'm still very impressed with the resilience, determination of the people of Borno State in particular. A decade or more of Boko Haram, you will be amazed at the resoluteness of the average person in Borno State. Look, this is our state. You can drive us out of there. We would fight you. And I think that's what keeps Borno State going. And of course, there's a lot of measures the governor has taken. One of them, which was fantastic to me, was the issue of Keke Napep. They realized that Keke Napep operators, wittingly or unwittingly, also contribute to this insurgency. So what the governor did, he didn't ban the Keke Napep, but stopped the importation of Keke Napep and registration of Keke Napep, so that if you have your Keke Napep today, the more you won't have be able to buy a new one. If you buy a new one, you'll be able to register a new one. So gradually, it's phasing out Keke Napep. And only 2 days ago, I heard that there are some vehicles that are
500 vehicles.
You see, this is a very to replace the Keke Napep. Yes, these are some of the very ingenious
which will be shared,
by them. So I have a lot of good words and commendation for the governor for most of the governors in the Northeast, because they are fighting existentialist wars. And for the governors in the North, like I said, I've been to Katsina. I was in Katsina recently. I was also in Kebbi. And I was really again impressed with Kebbi, even though Kebbi is not always hard about, of course there's an element of banditry in Kebbi also. But what the government is doing, they are assisting the military, giving them, instead of giving them, panel vans. No. They are building tanks, armored tanks for them. So each governor is doing his bit. And if you know the sheer amount of resources that, that goes to these security, security containment, the government would do much better in infrastructural, projects, if only they can overcome this security. And this is what many of them are doing. And we must give them a lot of kudos. And the important thing, and another takeaway from the interaction, really in Maiduguri, is the fact that the governor was full of praise for the president, especially the president's decision to help the state by looking into thermal energy and also into gas, so that to resolve the problem of power shortage, the problem of vandalization of power infrastructure. And again, even in Katsina State, you will see determination on the part of the Northwest governors to address this issue. So we must continue to assist them as much as possible.
All right, on that note, we'd like to thank you, the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, for being our guest on Good Morning Nigeria today. Thank you, and see you sometime soon.
Kingsley, thank you very much. And Awa,
thank you.
I hope to be here very soon again. Ajay. Thank you, sir.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be taking on our second topic, which is how to restore peace in the troubled southeast region of the country.
The Ministry of Works and Housing has a responsibility to help improve the quality and the quantity of the road infrastructure assets, which are the roads and the bridges and the highways. At the moment, we have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under repair, reconstruction, or rehabilitation out of the existing 35,000 kilometers of federal road network. These 13,000 kilometers are comprising about 850 different contracts which the ministry superintends across Nigeria. We are fulfilling the mandate of our ministry to expand the connectivity of Nigeria's states and by extension the towns and villages through road transport.
I'm the Chief Resident Engineer and Project Supervisor of the Second Niger Bridge Project. The Second Niger Bridge Project is a project that has been conceived for a very long time, but it has finally come to life during this present administration. This project has a lot of socio-economic benefits, and it has impacted positively on the lives of the host communities, both in Anambra State and Delta State. The people are very happy. The host communities, they partnered with us because apart from the social benefits, indigenes are also employed on this project. We can see how their lives are being improved.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Iheanacho near post and scores.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to continue their excellent start to the World Cup qualifiers when they take on Leifove of Central African Republic. Will Leifove pull off a shock on the home soil of the Super Eagles? It's Nigeria versus Central African Republic at the Tesla Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Nigeria on the 7th of October, showing on the network service of the NTA and AIT from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcast on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join online at sporty.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by BetNiger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms. For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Twitter at NTA News 24, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24, news and more news.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. For some time now, the Southeast has been under a serious security onslaught by, it is alleged, members of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, and some also say ESN members.
And the members have been attacking various government facilities ranging from custodial centers, INEC offices, police stations, and recently the DSS and FRS offices.
And because of pursuing their agitations, the members have said to have killed and maimed many innocent citizens and forced market men and women to sit at home, while also directing financial institutions, that's to say banks, and other public institutions to lower the country's national flag.
So what necessitated this development? Was it the implication of this to the socio-economic and political development of the Southeast in particular? and the nation at large.
And the point has also been reported that some are saying that there should be no elections in the Southeast, because just next month, about a month and a day away, the Anambra governorship elections are scheduled to take place. Joining us now in the studio to discuss this issue of how to restore peace in the Southeast, we would like to welcome Ambassador Obizoba Chiemelo, who is Director General Strategic Planning and Implementation of Ohaneze Ndigbo General Assembly Worldwide. Ambassador, pleasure to have you back on Good Morning Nigeria after the Independence Day discussions.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios, we'll also like to welcome another guest, and that's Great Imo Jonathan. He's a PR and media consultant. Imo Jonathan, pleasure to have you this morning.
My pleasure.
We also have joining us Chris Aguirre, Flag Foundation of Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Morning.
All right, gentlemen, once again, our pleasure to have you with us. This is not a particularly pleasant topic to discuss because of the frequent reports of violence and murder and maiming and disruption of the economically productive southeastern part of the country. Nnewi, for instance, which is the industrial hub in Anambra State, has faced relentless onslaught in recent times. Dora Akunyele's widower, Dr. Akunyele, continues to lie in the mortuary with having been assassinated, as it were. And there are several other reports of what is happening in the Southeast. Gentlemen, just what is happening? I mean, is it just sheer lawlessness or a breakdown of law and order? Yeah. Let's begin with Chris Aguirre.
Yeah, thank you very much. About the situation, the current situation in the Southeast, and that is one too many. Nigeria as a nation, I speak though as a Nigerian from the Southeast, but as the carrier of the Nigerian national flag, promoting everything good about Nigeria. These are not good developments, information that the world will be fed about our country. We have the Boko Haram in the northeast, then the northwest, then this one. That's ought not to be. Whatever may be the cause, we have a duty and a responsibility, a divine one, a moral one, a constitutional one, to ensure that order and tranquility is restored in the Southeast. It will do no one no good as a people, Southeasterners, as Nigeria as a whole. No. And so, of course, behind every action, there is some underlying things that promotes or agitates this. Some actions are deliberate. Some carry out some things to, deliver a message, to let you know that we're serious. Sometimes an armed robber comes to your place, according to stories, people's experiences. If you're not acting equally, he just opens the gun for you to know that it's serious. That's part of it. One, the Southeasterners, first and foremost, before we call on the federal government, we have a challenge to ensure that we don't destroy ourselves. Ensure that we don't destroy ourselves. Whatever may be your political interest, whatever may be your material interest, whatsoever is your interest, as an Igbo man, you owe yourself a responsibility, to accommodate yourselves. The space is good and large enough for those of them whose interest is to assert political position, ascend to political positions, and then appropriate and public wealth. That is just there. But behind all this, before we talk about the fifth communist that is becoming the description, is that there must be an inward-looking approach by the Igbos. I just discovered that, look at Ohaneze, my dear brother here, introduced him as Director of Strategy and something about Ohaneze. In all honesty, by my age and exposure to issues about Igbo land, it's here on the platform of Ohaneze. I didn't know about this kind of Ohaneze. I know about another Ohaneze and another one, 3. The one I know is that led by Professor George Obiozo as the President General and Ambassador Keamuche. I'm using that as an example that, look, the Igbos are now finding it difficult to cohere among themselves for tussles and struggles in whose interest I do not know. And now look at the kind of things that's happening in Nnewi of all people. Nnewi is a town that functions without government. I don't think there's any federal government institution or even state government institution in Nnewi. These are entrepreneurs that are making us proud as Igbo and as Nigerians. Now, look at the volume of businesses. People from all over the world trooping into Nnewi, those wanting to set up factories, wanting to align with them, and all that. I mean, they are hitting the heart of Igbo land. And so whatever it is, beginning from the political leadership of Igbo land, some of them are getting biased, some are already subsumed by and beclouded by their political interests, present and future. Then, of course, political leadership enthroned by law calls the shot. It's supposed to show lead. Then followed by organizations, we can talk about the Ohaneze as a known socio-political, socio-cultural organization by the Igbos, the church leaders, the religious leaders that are influential and are powerful, the traditional rulers. How could Ali Igbo? Now, yes, we have one saying that Igbo Enweze, but not to that extent. The people in the southeast, if we go, for example, in Nnewi now, the normal local people, the residents who live and thrive in that, they don't even know what is happening. Is there another war that is coming? Is it because of the election? The threat of no election, we saw it in 2017. I was your studio analyst in Oka, 2017. Yes, there was an order that there won't be any election. But back to the narrative, it's credited to IPOB. Is it truly IPOB? Is it, political interests different? Is it fifth columnist as being insinuated in some quarters, different schools of thought about whatever? But then, the Nigeria as an institution, with all the intelligence know-how, must carry out a discrete investigation to be able to unravel who are behind this, what is their interest, and above all, if it implies application of force, because somebody who is with gun that you cannot listen to you, if it entails application of force equivalent to what is being said to ensure that order is restored.
All right, Chris,
exactly.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yes, let me now join Ambassador Chiemelu. You are the Director General Strategic Planning and Implementation Ohaneze in Dibo. The Igbos are known to be enterprising, entrepreneurs. They live everywhere in the world. They are considered peaceful people. How did this situation spiral out of control? And are the elders of the Igbos not sitting down to talk to their children on how to curtail this situation as it is now?
Thank you very much. The challenges we are facing in the Southeast today is not new to certain region of the country. But what matters is the way and manner our political leaders, our elites have handled the matter is the question to be discussed about. During the receive in South, the Niger Delta, you see the governors, you see the political leaders, even talking to the people, galvanizing them, at least meeting them one-on-one, pleading to them, trying to bring them into, to at least talk sense into them. Kicking against it, I could remember some of the former governor of Rivers State then, even taking the word to the Den zone and begin to talk to them and begin to make sure that normalcy come to their region. What had happened in the Southeast recent days, is very pathetic. Most of us are not very comfortable because our people are not really showing concern when you see a political leader who come on the national TV or press conference and say they don't know who is behind this, we must have to identify our problems. If we don't identify our problem, then there's no way we can solve our problems. It's not about convening a meeting of leaders, gathering in a place and wake up after closed door meeting, issue statement. Have you been able to take action towards the statement you have even issued a previous time? Abuja was set up unceremoniously prior to this serious hit in the Southeast, when they perceived that these people are becoming unbearable to them. They rose from a meeting and proclaimed Abuja to secure the Igbo land. And today, I think nobody can barely heard about that Abuja by the governors, the Southeast governors who have set up. These are the leaders of the region. You cannot be in your house and somebody invade your house and you say you don't know what is happening. No. If you're in your private home and you were being attacked, you were able to identify how manage the attack comes and how do you deal with the subsequent one, in case if there is. Just like my brother said, the Southeast, especially Anambra State, Nnewi, Onitsha Market, is the economic hub of West Africa, not just in the country. It's the economic hub of the West Africa. Every African market comes to Anambra for business and other economic activities. But today, our leaders are watching unpatriotic elements issuing order when you have a legitimate institution, constituted government, and nobody is making any move. When we talk, they say, Ambassador, why would you have to talk? You have to be diplomatic. I say, no. Can we be able to identify our problems so that we can be able to find how to fix the problem? Today, they are meeting again. And when I had a call yesterday, I said, look, you've been meeting. It's only one of them that try as much he can do to an extent to be able to put some effort to match his word, which is the Imo State governor who have tried possible to see how he can. Others are just quiet. Based on what my colleague and my brother said, maybe because of their present political benefit or future political distance. So,
but they are afraid?
I don't, if you can be, look, you have a sitting governor constituted by the elected institution, supposed to be taking action. You have a local vigilante, which in Anambra State, I remember that Anambra State every community have a local vigilante group and recognized by the Anambra State government. These people are not coming from the sky. They're coming from somewhere. Where people go to enforce lockdown, you see them face to face. Going to disperse people who come to at least do their daily. There are people who can't feed unless they come out one day. There are people who their basic income determined on how many. Once they come out that day, they were be able to feed their home. And group of people chartered a lot of economic activities of the region, and nobody is seriously talking about it. It's a cause for concern for all of us, because we don't have any other home to go. At the end of the day, we will leave Abuja to our various communities. If you go to other parts of the country where Igbos are doing their business, you see they have peaceful coexistence within themselves. So we cannot come to our own region and charter our economic well-being and begin to celebrate. And some of them will say it's unknown government. I disagree with anybody that says it's unknown government. These people are known. If they have come to say, don't raise your flag within October 1st, when you have an Independence Day, and you still tell me they are unknown government, they issue threat and they match it with action. The institution of government will issue their own threat, they will match it with action. They will talk. After getting, they'll issue a press statement. They will go in and go and sleep. So it calls for concern.
The state of anarchy.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Ambassador Chiemelu, thank you. You know, the great Imo Jonathan, Chris Aguirre said that some persons in the Southeast are wondering whether this is another civil war. Because it's like what is happening is within the boundaries of the entire Southeast. At first, there were attacks on government institutions, police stations, prisons, government house, law enforcement officers taken, but we are now seeing prominent citizens being killed on the streets of the Southeast, and then we are seeing properties of Southeasterners being burnt in the Southeast. Dr. Cho Kongo left office as Minister of Finance many years ago. Joe Bokwe, Bokwe, who is in Lagos, his property, we saw it on television, on footage, also being razed. So, is this another civil war being perpetrated this time, whether by unknown gunmen or whoever?
Well, this cannot be said to be a kind of a full-blown civil war. It's more or less a sectarian violence. And if we do apply the social framework for solving social problems, we need to do first and foremost what you call problem appreciation. And like we're all here in the studio lamenting, but the real problem is that we're talking about the symptoms of the real problem, which is long years of neglect of these young elements who have become a thorn in the flesh. And that must be placed squarely where it belongs, which is the failure of leadership. Society rise and fall on the altar of leadership. And when I mean leadership, let's even start with the family leadership. A lot of these young people getting involved in violence, we are children who were uncared for. I'm from the Southeast, and I know that each time I return to my community, you see hundreds of young people with no future, nobody's modeling, nobody's focusing them. Every of these children roaming around in the communities, getting high on drugs. During elections, politicians will mobilize them, give them guns to go and fight for ballot boxes, to kill people, to maim people. After election, you abandon them. And this, for example, in my state, within the last 6 years, when we did the analysis of federal allocation, both for state and local government, in 6 years, Abia State has received 803 billion. And it does not reflect in that environment. Hence, when I'm talking about leadership, I'm not talking about federal, because the two things that happen here is that it is the failure of the immediate leadership in the Southeast. And when this failure occurs, they begin to play propaganda with it, begin to redirect the attention of young people, making them feel that it was someone out there who is supposed to have taken care of their needs that have not done it. Yet these young people see these people driving in big cars. They know some of these people had nothing. They become big now. They had no factories. They don't have no mechanics farm. But on the commonwealth of the people, they are feeding fat, taking care of themselves, sharing money. Nothing is reflecting on the environment. There are no infrastructure to encourage young people to live within their communities and be happy. There are no industries. Children are no longer guided. Parents are also failing because the Igbo that we know, we have values. Right now, we have a lot of young people, when you see them on social media talk, you ask yourself, is this child giving birth to by an Igbo man? You see some of our young ladies, Igbo young ladies going on social media, getting naked. It is not part of us. It is the poor parenting or failure of parenting. Then, even lack of those, because leaders model society. What have they been modeling in the Southeast in the last 20 years, in the last 30 years? People from nowhere. People, the worst of us have begun to hijack power. In fact, when you are talking about this thing, what are the ingredients feeding these forces? Cultism, drug. You understand? These young people who were abandoned after the election were mobilized. Their anger were aggregated. And some messages were passed. When they found out something that is real, that they can relate with about the failure of government, whether it is federal or state, and they're able to link it, then they begin to use other instruments, big lies and all of those things, to mold them into an army. And while these things were happening also, the failure to nip them in the bud, to create counter-narratives, were the things that led us to this point where, in fact, let me say the truth, the people are alienated from the so-called leaders in the Southeast. Some of these orders were given, some of them they are even obeyed voluntarily because people are angry. And let me even put this forward. I've had the occasion to speak with some of my friends who are in some of the security agencies. I said, when some of these people want to get angry with these politicians, when you bring security agencies, they see them as you harboring and protecting their enemies, because they know these people. In fact, for example, whilst we are talking, you go to Southeast, you are arresting Yahoo boys. Why the commissioner for what? Commissioner for finance is there. People can't see you using the federal might, you understand, to discipline these people who have created the problem and pour it upon the head of the federal government. So in the end, it is now a multi-linked problem. Those who are kidnapping, doing armed robbery are mobilizing to this crisis.
I want to great Imo, Jonathan. There's a point that you have just raised now. In terms, I don't know whether one can loosely refer to it as displaced aggression, because some of the reports, particularly in recent weeks, indicated that if you were seen with a pilot vehicle, like the usual Hilux, with revolving lights, and you were a security officer, you were likely to be attacked. And in some cases, there have been fatalities arising from this. And then, so if you are then seen as a big man who is being guided on a tour or being escorted, that will also be attacked. Is this part of what we are saying? That look, they are saying, look, these guys are the cause of our problems by these elements who are perpetrating this.
That's to say that's part of the truth we must be dealing with here, because sometimes you also see in these videos you see on social media, the crowd sometimes hail them. Precisely. You see them amongst the people, but are beginning to target a certain class of people, and that is the only way we began to talk. When this issue started long before now, these things have been here from Massop before you even had IPOP. And these things were not even addressed. In fact, I have it on good authority. There was a former Southeast leader, youth leader, Uko or somebody, who had even attempted in the beginning to bring these young people to be listened to by the Southeast leaders. They invited them to Enugu, and they eventually abandoned them outside. I never spoke with them. You keep ignoring your children, having this colonialist mentality of leadership, where you treat your people as if they are your slaves, as if they are your subjects. And because you don't feel that these people have emotions, you don't want to listen to their problem, you have allowed this thing to fester. Now, I'm even afraid that even the so-called IPOP, this thing has spiraled out of their hand, out of their control. The forces that are operating in the Southeast now cannot particularly be mentioned. There is a multidimensional issue. There's political issues to it. There are criminalities to it. There is the agitation issue to it, and many others. Even amongst the political elite in Igbo land, when they fight viciously. They fight viciously for power. And to the extent that is when they rig these elections, some of these people governing the Southeast were not elected by the people. That is why you cannot mobilize your people. Because whether it is insecurity, it is the proliferate, it is the mobilization of the people that will lead to the solution. Why would you have millions of people and some group of people come with 2 vehicles, run into Newi, cause all the havoc and go away? It's because the people really are not with you to fight them. The first thing a leader does is, apart from having a vision, you must have what they call proliferate mobilization. You must recruit. You must mobilize your people towards a cause. You must explain to them the cause of action, the vision. You must be the pathfinder to say this is where we are going to. If you cannot do that, then you are governing yourself. You are not governing the people. Show them the way and mobilize them towards a cause. Even show them, be open to what you have, resources, material and men. We have 10 naira. We can achieve this, we can achieve that. Let the people know that 803 billion came in. This is what we are supposed to do with it. This is why it will cost this way. And everybody knows that when you cannot afford it, everybody knows that. Plain truth is that we cannot afford it. The people must work with you. How can you, in a country of 200 and something million, how many police officers do we have? Nowhere in the world can the society be appropriately policed by those wearing uniform. The people must be involved. And the only way they can be involved is that you must be the people's person in order to mobilize them. And these are the important issues that must be looked into. We must solve this problem using kinetic and non-kinetic solution. Even in solving what they call terrorism problem. Experts will tell you that once military involvement is above 18%, it's absolutely a failure, because it is the mobilization of the people and interface with the security, those who do what they call underground checking, that leads to what? Nipping these things in the bud. You have to do what they call mines reduce, plotting, planning, getting the people involved. When they see strange movement, the kind of people they see, documenting all this evidence, analysis, and all of those things. And in sovereignty, you do proper problem appreciation. Then you do what they call stakeholder engagement. After stakeholder engagement, you begin to tailor the solution to it. When you are solving this problem, there are immediate solutions, which might be somewhat connected. You want to use the applied state force to stop it, but going back to the background, the problem should not be solved just on top, and that is what I think we should be looking for.
Mr. Great, you raised a lot of silent, and pertinent questions here, attributing to the fact that the value system of the Southeast itself has crashed. Because growing up, we see individuals bringing up young entrepreneurs. They grow up, have their own. Yes, mentorship. What happened to it in the Southeast?
Yeah, we'll talk about failure of mentorship. It's not only peculiar in Igbo. Yes. But please.
But it was prominent, more prominent in the Southeast.
Yes. Now, let me tell you, the background of what some of this is, are some of the consequences of losing a war. The war is devastation, including your cultures, including your traditions, including your way of life.
But the war was not lost.
I'm coming now. When we were first, I wouldn't put it that way, but when you talk about, when you have been dislocated completely, and now it becomes survivor. By 1970, the prerogative of every Igbo man was survivor. You had to first live. But then that is also not a road, in terms of, but then, of course, that generation of Igbos, they faced existential challenges, so they needed to impact to the younger ones. And, which moved on and on and on until you lost the grip. Via the political system on kind of people that emerges, who don't really understand the essence of leadership that brought us to where we are. Look, let us not isolate the global issues. You see, the phone that informations are transmitted, these are some of the challenges of globalization. I studied globalization as a course. The issue is this, that it was believed, and is happening, that for those cultures and traditions that are not strongly rooted and jealously guided, globalization was going to come like a storm, wiping them away. Part of the first is that of globalization. But to what is happening in the Southeast now, every Igbo man, every Nigerian, leadership from the local governments, from the ward level to the federal level, must put ourselves together to restore law and order. And because it's a challenge that if it's allowed to move beyond, it has extended to the issue of not raising national flag. For God's sake, it's becoming more complex. Precisely. I couldn't understand myself as a promoter of the national flag, and within me, it was a torturous situation. I couldn't, and it's a reality. Then it has moved. That is another stage. When you have a sovereign state like Nigeria, and you now have an order by a non-state actor that the flag should not be raised. It's almost getting to the climax of whatever we're talking about.
There's a threat of a month-long sit-at-home.
Okay, so now look at those things. The issue is this. Nigerian government, from the federal government to the state government, to all Igbos at home and diaspora, in whichever position, in whichever location you are, we must say, no, enough is enough. This is not who we are. This is not the way to go. And we must restore law and order. We must, things have to be, when we talk about now reorientation, yes, of course, there's a lot of reorientation. But currently, as it was last year, at least by this time last year, there were no such things happening in Igbo land. So how come all of a sudden, if it doesn't happen, what is going to happen in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, before you know it, that's how Boko Haram started.
Precisely.
Is that what we're waiting for?
Their modus operandi is exactly
of course, yes, that is the issue. The terrorism is a reality, ravaging all over the world. When we're accusing IPOB or a non-gunman or gunmen or politicians or struggle for tussle among ourselves and all the political groups, But the issue is this: among all these groups, majority of them, a larger percentage of them, don't have the interest of public good and public goodness as a motive behind what they're doing. It's all gathered towards personal, material, mostly material interest, to take grip of political power, exercise power and authority, distribute the the largest of the office, forgetting that leadership is a challenge. I challenge the leadership of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I challenge the leadership of all the state governors in the Southeast, down to the local government, to socio-political organizations like we now have 3 Ohaneze. I'm just hearing of this. No, this should not continue. This shouldn't be.
Okay, you know what, Chris, Agiri, and gentlemen, this is a topic that will, of course, we're going to have a part 2 of it. There are a number of perspectives to look at, but ultimately it's what will work and what should work in the circumstance. The Southeast cannot be burning the way it is burning. The Southeast cannot be littered with dead bodies of prominent and not so prominent citizens of the Southeast. We were talking a while ago about one of the fallout of the Civil War. I mentioned this on Good Morning Nigeria when we were doing our newspaper review, that part of what we saw at the end of the Civil War was for Southeasterners who were prosperous elsewhere in the country rather than the Southeast to say, look, I will go back home to go and build.
Yes.
And so when you go to the Southeast, in the villages, in the towns, you see mansions built by successful Southeasterners, and some of these properties are now being targeted by arsonists.
No.
Gentlemen, we appreciate your being here. As I said, we're going to continue with this conversation. Our producer has indicated that will be tomorrow. But great. Imo Jonathan, PR and media consultant, thank you for being our guest this morning.
My pleasure.
Ambassador Chief Obizoba Chiemelu, DG Strategic Planning and Implementation of Ohaneze Ndigbo General Assembly Worldwide, we thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you very much.
Chris Agiri, Director General of Flag Foundation of Nigeria, thanks a lot for being our guest.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's take a look at the world of sports.
The Super Eagles camp opened on Monday for the 2022 World Cup qualifying games against the Central African Republic. The Eagles played Central African Republic at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, Lagos, on Thursday before traveling to Cameroon for the second leg 3 days later. A total of 16 players arrived on the first day of camping. KSK Moscow winger Chidera Ejuke was the first in camp. The players took part in a gym section at 4:30 p.m. and are scheduled for training at 5 p.m. later today. More players are expected to join the camp this morning before Thursday's game. Meanwhile, informed Union Berlin striker Taiwo Awoniyi and Glasgow Rangers defender Kavlin Bassey are expected to make their international debuts in the qualifiers. Also, Umar Sadiq scored and provided an assist in Almeria's 2-1 away win at the Arena in the Spanish second division on Monday. After a goalless first half, Sadiq broke the deadlock in the 52nd minute before Bernardo equalized for Girona on 62 minutes. And in the 68th minute, Sadiq then turned provider as a set-up teammate Lucas Rubaton, who scored what proved to be the winner. Umar Sadiq has now scored 6 goals in 8 appearances in the second tier this season. In tennis, Japan's Naomi Osaka has dropped out of the women's top 10 for the first time since winning 2018 US Open title. Osaka, 23, who is now 12th, withdrew from this year's French Open and made Wimbledon to focus on her mental health.
What happened? All right, the conversation.
We're
of course,
seeing our discussion here. We're continues
having that.
Behind the scene.
We're caught off guard by our director. Well, that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow is another day, 7 o'clock in the morning. Look after yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Jumwe Yusuf. Do have a great day.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative and interactive on national issues accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Federation presidents have been given the mandate to manage the affairs of their various federations for the next 4 years. The elections was held in Abuja last week, and the presidents have been talking tough on their plans for the next 4 years. Also on the program today, we step into an international break, and Nigeria Super Eagles will be up against the wild beasts of Central African Republic.